If even one of these creatures were still alive today, humans wouldn't stand a chance at the top anymore. But here's the part that might surprise you. Some believe the most dangerous creature on Earth never disappeared at all. Today, we're counting down 7 extinct predators that once ruled Earth, and by the end, you might realize something uncomfortable. Now, let's start with something that might feel familiar at first, but quickly turns into something far more unsettling. Imagine a lion. Not just any lion, but one built to take down prey much larger than itself. A body packed with muscle, thick limbs designed for power, and a presence that doesn't rely on speed but on certainty. This wasn't a creature that chased. It waited. It watched. And when the moment came, it ended everything in seconds. This was Smilodon, the saber-toothed predator. At a glance, it may look similar to modern big cats, about the same size as a lion. But that's where the similarity ends. Because what made Smilodon truly terrifying wasn't how fast it could run, it was how it killed. Its most striking feature? 2 massive canine teeth, stretching over 7 inches long. Not just for display, these were precision weapons, built to pierce deep into flesh, targeting vital areas with a single calculated strike. No struggle, no long chase. Just one moment, and it was over. But what makes this even more unsettling is the kind of prey it went after. We're not talking about deer or small animals. Smilodon hunted creatures far larger than itself: bison, ancient horses, even young mammoths. That means this predator didn't just rely on instinct. It relied on confidence. It knew exactly what it was capable of. Time. And unlike modern lions, which depend heavily on speed and teamwork, Smilodon had a different strategy. Its body was built for strength over endurance, thick forelimbs to pin down prey, a powerful neck to drive those teeth in with force. Everything about it was designed for one thing: delivering a perfect, fatal strike. Now imagine standing in an open Ice Age landscape. No weapons, no warning, just silence. And somewhere nearby, something is watching you. Not running, not making a sound, just waiting. Because for Smilodon, speed was never necessary. All it needed was one perfect moment. If this were the one creature still alive today, would you stand a chance? To be honest, if you had to face one of these creatures, would it be this one? If your answer is yes, comment 1 below. If Smilodon made you question what might be watching from the shadows on land, then what comes next will make you think twice about the water. Now, imagine standing at the edge of a river. The surface looks calm, still, almost peaceful. That was never I. You can hear the faint sound of insects in the distance. Maybe the rustling of leaves carried by a warm breeze. Nothing feels out of place. Nothing feels dangerous. And then the water moves. Not a splash, not a ripple caused by wind, but something deeper, slower, intentional. Because beneath that surface, you're not alone. This is Sarcosuchus, often called the super crocodile. At first glance, you might compare it to modern crocodiles. But that comparison disappears the moment you understand its size. Sarcosuchus could grow up to 40 feet long, about the size of a school bus. Its weight reached nearly 10 tons, heavier than 2 full-grown elephants combined. This wasn't just a predator. It was an ambush machine. Its jaws were built for crushing power, capable of snapping down with enough force to shatter bone instantly. Fish, turtles, even medium-sized dinosaurs. Nothing that came too close to the water was safe. Once it locked onto its prey, there was no escape, no second chance. And unlike many land predators that rely on speed or endurance, Sarcosuchus relied on patience. It didn't chase. It waited, hidden just beneath the surface, its massive body almost completely invisible. Only the slightest movement of water would betray its presence, and by the time you noticed that, it would already be too late. But what makes this creature even more unsettling isn't just what it was. It's where it lived, because the place we now know as the Sahara Desert, dry, endless, lifeless, was once something entirely different. Over 100 million years ago, it was a vast, humid jungle filled with rivers, vegetation, and life. A perfect environment for something like Sarcosuchus to thrive. All what is now sand was once a hunting ground, which means if you could travel back in time, standing in that same place, you wouldn't see a desert. You'd be standing at the edge of a river, with something ancient watching you from below. And just like Smilodon didn't need speed to end its prey, Sarcosuchus didn't need to move much at all, because sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you never see coming. And if Sarcosuchus made you question what might be hiding just beneath the surface of a river, then what you're about to hear next takes that fear into something far deeper, something far more impossible to escape, because this time there's nowhere to stand, no land, no safety, no edge to retreat to, only the open ocean. Now imagine yourself floating in deep water. You can't see the bottom. The sunlight barely reaches below you. The deeper you look, the darker it becomes, until everything fades into a cold, endless black. And in that silence, there's a strange feeling like something is moving beneath you. Not fast, not chaotic, but controlled, watching. This was the world of Mosasaurus, a massive marine reptile that ruled the oceans over 66 million years ago. At lengths reaching up to 50 or even 60 feet, it was one of the most dominant predators to ever exist underwater. But what made it truly terrifying wasn't just its size. It was how it hunted. Its skull alone could stretch nearly 6 feet long, filled with around 250 sharp teeth, rows upon rows designed not just to bite, but to hold, tear, and drag prey into the depths. Once something was caught in that grip, it wasn't getting out. And unlike creatures on land, or even in shallow water, Mosasaurus operated in a world where escape was almost impossible. You couldn't run, you couldn't hide. There was no solid ground to reach. Everything around you belonged to it. Scientists often compare it to the modern Komodo dragon, but that comparison only helps for a moment, because now imagine that same relentless predator scaled up to the size of a bus, moving through water with complete control. It didn't need to rush. It didn't need to chase wildly. It simply moved, and the ocean made way. And here's what makes it even more unsettling. Mosasaurus didn't just hunt small fish or easy targets. It preyed on anything it could overpower, including other marine reptiles. That means even creatures in its own world weren't safe from it. Now, think about that. In a place where everything is already dangerous, it was still at the top, and just like Sarcosuchus turned rivers into traps, Mosasaurus turned the entire ocean into a hunting ground. There was no warning, no second chance, just a sudden moment when the water beneath you wasn't empty anymore. And if there's one thing this reminds us of, it's that sometimes the most dangerous places aren't the ones that look threatening, but the ones that feel completely silent right before something rises from below. And as we move deeper into this list, one thing becomes clear. Each of these creatures didn't just survive, they dominated their world in a way that still feels hard to imagine today. So take a moment, stay with the story, because what's coming next only gets more intense. And if Mosasaurus made the ocean feel like a place you could never escape, what comes next is even more unsettling, because this time, this was the world of Spinosaurus, one of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs to ever exist, stretching up to nearly 60 feet in length, even longer than the legendary T-Rex. But what made Spinosaurus truly unique wasn't just its size, it was its versatility. Unlike most predators that dominate either land or water, Spinosaurus was built for both, a semi-aquatic hunter, capable of moving through rivers with ease, while still maintaining control on land. That means there was almost nowhere to hide. Its long crocodile-like snout was lined with sharp conical teeth, perfectly designed for catching slippery prey like fish. But it didn't stop there. Evidence suggests it could also hunt larger animals, making it far more than just a river predator. And then there's its most recognizable feature, the massive sail on its back. Scientists still debate its purpose. Was it for display, temperature regulation, or something else entirely? Whatever the reason, it gave Spinosaurus a silhouette unlike anything else that has ever walked the earth. Now think about this. Most predators have a limitation, a boundary, a place where they are less effective. For a lion, it's water. For a crocodile, it's land. But for Spinosaurus, those boundaries didn't really exist. If you ran toward the river, it followed. If you stayed on land, it was already there. There was no clear escape route. And that's what makes it so unsettling, because survival often depends on knowing where you're safe, and in a world ruled by Spinosaurus, that sense of safety simply didn't exist. Just like Mosasaurus turned the ocean into its domain, Spinosaurus controlled the space in between, where land meets water, where movement becomes unpredictable, and where the line between safety and danger disappears completely. And if Spinosaurus made you feel like there was no clear boundary between land and water, what comes next takes that fear even further, because this time, the danger doesn't need territory. This was the world of Titanoboa, the largest snake ever discovered, stretching between 40 to 50 feet in length, longer than a bus, thicker than anything alive today. To put it into perspective, even the largest modern snake, the green anaconda, rarely reaches beyond 30 feet. But size alone wasn't what made Titanoboa terrifying. It was how it hunted. Unlike predators that rely on speed, teeth, or claws, Titanoboa used pressure. Pure, unstoppable pressure. It would strike, wrap around its prey, and tighten slowly, methodically, until breathing stopped. No dramatic chase, no loud struggle. Just silence and increasing force. And once it began, there was no escape. What makes this even more unsettling is how easily it could disappear into its environment. Rivers, swamps, dense rainforest, places where visibility is limited, where movement is hard to track. Titanoboa didn't need to stand out. It blended in. It waited. And when the moment came, it acted. And if Titanoboa made you fear what could be hidden in silence, what comes next takes that fear into a place where silence feels endless. This was Megalodon, the largest shark to have ever existed, reaching lengths of up to 60 feet. That's nearly 3 times the size of a modern great white shark. Its jaws were wide enough to swallow prey whole, and its teeth, some as large as a human hand, were built to crush, tear, and dominate anything in its path. But what made Megalodon truly terrifying wasn't just its size, it was its presence. Because unlike many predators that rely on surprise in confined spaces, Megalodon hunted in the open. That means there was nowhere to hide, no structure to shield you, no boundary to protect you, just water, and something moving through it faster than you expect. Scientists believe it preyed on large marine animals, including whales. That means this wasn't a creature targeting the weak or the small, it went after the biggest things in its world and won. Now imagine what that means. If something that large, that powerful, was willing to attack creatures the size of whales, what would it do if you were there? And here's what makes it even more unsettling. Unlike Titanoboa, which depended on cover and concealment, Megalodon didn't need to hide. It was the kind of predator that didn't disappear into its environment. It defined it, wherever it swam. That space became dangerous. No warning, no signal, just a sudden realization that something far larger than you is moving below. And in a place as vast as the ocean, you wouldn't even know which direction it's coming from. And if Megalodon made you fear what might be moving beneath you, what comes next will make you question what could be watching from above. Because this time, the danger doesn't come from the ground or the water. It comes from the sky. This was Quetzalcoatlus, the largest flying creature to ever exist. Not a dinosaur, but a pterosaur, an entirely different kind of reptile that dominated the skies during the age of dinosaurs. Its wingspan stretched up to 40 feet, wider than a small airplane. Its body stood as tall as a giraffe when on the ground. But what made it truly unsettling wasn't just its size, it was how it moved. Despite its enormous frame, Quetzalcoatlus could launch itself into the air with powerful limbs and glide across vast distances with almost no sound. That means it didn't need to chase loudly or aggressively. It could simply appear above you, watching, waiting. Its long, pointed beak, over 8 feet in length, was perfectly designed to grab and swallow prey. Some theories suggest it hunted small dinosaurs or scavenged carcasses, while others believe it could snatch up animals directly from the ground. Now imagine that for a second. A creature that doesn't need to approach from the front. It doesn't need to break through anything. Doesn't need to be seen until the last moment, because it's already above you. And just like Megalodon turned the ocean into its domain, Quetzalcoatlus owned the sky. There was no direction that felt truly safe anymore. Not forward, not behind, not even above. Because danger didn't need to move toward you. It could simply descend. And in a world where something that large could fly in complete silence, the sky itself would never feel empty again. But here is something worth thinking about after everything we've just seen. Many still believe the most dangerous creature was never extinct. In fact, It's the one watching all of this right now. Be honest, which one would you never want to face in real life, or do you think it's still us?